Tikaya Tanuvas Krishandivam Tikaya Tanuvas Krishandivam Sahasrabhur Kaladam Strodvalat Agni Muddaja Palamali Vivito
Translation. Maybe I'll translate it. A fearful black demon, as high as the sky, and as bright as 3 suns combined, was thereby created. His teeth very fearful, and the hairs on his head like burning fire. He had thousands of arms equipped with various weapons, and he was garlanded with the heads of men. One more verse to chant.
Kim Karomi Tigrinanta Nantamaha
Kim karomi Nantamaha
Adhanjalim Bhagavan
Adhanjalim Bhagavan Bhutanatha
Amsayagyam Jayimad Bhattanam
Laksham Sayagyam Jaimat Bhatanam
Ujra Bhattam Sakam
Samarni Rudra Bhatam Shakoti.
When that gigantic demon asked with folded hands, "What shall I do, my Lord?" Lord Shiva, who is known as Bhutanatha, directly ordered, "Because you were born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates. Therefore, kill Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice." Purport. Here is the beginning of competition between Brahma Tejas and Shiva Tejas. By Brahma Tejas, Brahminical strength, Bhrigu Muni had created the Ribhu demigods, who had driven away the soldiers of Lord Shiva stationed in the arena. When Lord Shiva heard that his soldiers had been driven away, he created the tall black demon Virabhadra to retaliate. There's sometimes a competition between the mode of goodness and the mode of ignorance. That is the way of material existence. Even when one is situated in the mode of goodness, there's every possibility that his position will be mixed with or attacked by the mode of passion or ignorance. That is the law of material nature. Although pure goodness, or Shuddha Sattva, is the basic principle in the spiritual world, pure manifestation of goodness is not possible in this material world. Thus, the struggle for existence between different material qualities is always present. This quarrel between Lord Shiva and Bhrigu Muni, centering around Prajapati Daksha, is the practical example of such competition between the different qualitative modes of material nature. Om Jnana Timidandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Bhagana Raghunathan Vitam Sam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Pradijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kam Shana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Odi Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Tam Kim Karomiti Pranantamaha Padhanjalim Bhagavan Bhutanata Daksham Sayagya Jahi Madhu Patana Tam Agrini Rudra Patan Shako. The demon created by Lord Shiva submissively asked Lord Shiva, Kim Karomi, what should I do? Patanjali with folded hands. What shall I do? And Lord Shiva said, kill Daksha and finish off his yajna also. Daksham sayagyam. Yes. You're expert in battle, you're born from my very body, so go do it. Prabhupada comments that this is the beginning of a conflict between Shiva Tejas and Brahma Tejas. Yeah, is that what he said? Yeah, Brahma Tejas means, the Teja means power. Teja. So the Brahminical Teja, or mode of goodness, and on the other side, the mode of ignorance, are the two qualities controlled by or associated with the Brahmins and with Lord Shiva. So there'll be a fight between ignorance and goodness. This is always going on in the material world. Rajas tamas chavipuyo sattvam bhavati bharata. Rajas sattvam tamas chaiva tamas sattvam rajastata. The three modes of material nature are always mixing. We don't find in this world pure goodness, pure ignorance, pure passion. There's a mixture. Those who work with, anyone here work with Pantone colors? Pantone colors, no. No graphic designers here. Pantone colors are colors designated by percentages. This much blue, this much cyan, this much magenta, this much yellow. much black. So you can define any color by defining the percentages of these four different constituents. Four because it's printing. Printing uses four colors: magenta, cyan, which is reddish, yellow, and black. Modes of nature are three: sattva, rajas, and tamas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And they mix in combinations. And Prabhupada does the arithmetic, which I never understood. But anyway, they mix in different combinations. 20% this and 40% that, another 20% this, another 40% this. You can adjust and you'll get the whole color palette of mixed modes. So we find people who are good, but they have an ignorant streak. They're ignorant, but they have a touch of goodness. Or they're mostly passionate, but they have a little goodness in them, and some passion in them also, and some ignorance in them also. So these modes are always competing. Rajas, tamas, cha, vibhuya, sattvam, bhavati bharata, sattvam, rajas, tamas, chaiva, tamas, sattvam, rajas, tata. And therefore we find so many varieties of life, so many varieties of human beings, so many varieties of behavior, according to these mixtures of the modes of nature. But in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Nistragunyo bhavarjan, rise above the modes of material nature. Because the material modes have nothing to do with our real self. People identify with their modes without knowing it. They identify with their tough guy image, or with their image of themselves as philanthropists, with their image of themselves as hard negotiators, or their image of themselves as good old boys. So these identities are derived from the three qualities of material nature. A scholar, I think of myself as a scholar, I dress like a scholar, I speak like a scholar. That means more of goodness. Or I dress like a biker, I speak like a biker, I act like a biker. That means more of ignorance. But we identify with these modesy identities, but actually we have nothing to do with these qualities because we're not this body. And for the soul, Sango Hiyam Purusha, soul has nothing to do with these qualities. So, Nistragunya Bhavarjana, to rise above the material modes of nature, means to free oneself from this false identification with the material body. And to come actually to the stage of pure goodness. Pure goodness, Sattvam Vishuddham, that's called Vishuddha Sattva. Completely pure Sattvam. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shobhidham. That pure goodness is only found on the spiritual plane. In the material world, in the spiritual world, there's no mixture of ignorance or passion, or even adulterated goodness. Well, if there's no passion or ignorance, there's nothing to adulterate the goodness. So it's pure goodness. That's the mode of the spiritual world. Absolute goodness. So that we come to that platform gradually by Krishna consciousness. Nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Then bhagavatyuttam shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki. Then tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobhadaya striye Ete Taranatitam Stitam Satve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana Sangasya Jayadvaita. This is the process of elevation to hear Shinvatam Swakata Krishna, to hear Krishna Katha, which is auspicious, Punya Shravana Kirtan, just to hear and chant Bhagavat Katha is purifying. Punya Shravana Kirtan, not materially pious or impious, but transcendentally pious activity. Punya Shravana Kirtan, Hridyastav, Yabhadrani, all the gunk in the heart, all the dirty things, all the trash in the heart is removed. And one comes to the transcendental platform. That's described. Nashta prayeshu, when the unwanted things are mostly destroyed, not 100%, but when they're substantially wiped out by daily, regular hearing of Bhāgavatam. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam Bhagavata seva. Bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. One comes to the transcendental platform. So, tada rajastamo amalopade. Along with these two lower modes of nature, we get calm and krodh. Calm and comes from passion, krodh comes from ignorance. So becoming freed of calm and krodh, or becoming freed of passion and ignorance, means that the lust in the heart is diminished, the anger in the heart is diminished. Anger means also frustration. People walk around frustrated and right? It's just considered normal. People are angry and frustrated and lusty. And they can't keep their hands off the women in their offices. Sometimes they can, and sometimes they can't. But the eyes are always going there, and the mind is going there. Kama krodha. Kama krodha vimuktanam natinam. What is that? Abhipraratobi. So Krishna consciousness means to try to get rid of these lower modes of nature independently will be very difficult. There are all these self-help gurus and this process and that process for doing something with your mind and your heart. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But if one becomes Krishna conscious, even the devotees, what is that? Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasha. The instruction is given by Sanat Kumar in the 4th canto. Yat kama krodha palasha vilasha. To try to stop the waves of material desires in the heart is very difficult. Very difficult. But if one develops attraction to the lotus feet of Krishna, then automatically, automatically one becomes free. So, of course, here in this conflict, ignorance will win. In the conflict between Lord Shiva's followers and Bhrigu Muni and Daksha, Lord Shiva's followers will emerge victorious. That we'll find in the coming verses. But the result is that the demigods will have to take shelter. Please help us. We've been defeated now. So the devotees even may struggle with the modes of nature sometimes, ignorance or passion, some traction. But by taking shelter with the all-good personality of Godhead, one is elevated to the transcendental life. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Are there some questions today?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class today. I was just thinking when you mentioned at the end how ignorance would win in this conflict between ignorance and goodness. I was thinking how Daksha, with his ignorance of Lord Shiva's position and offending him, how you can see how he invited this ignorance with his own.
You stopped being loud.
Oh, I can see how he invited this ignorance with his own ignorance.
Yeah. Daksha invited ignorance with his own ignorance. Yes. True. Even people who are trying to be good wind up doing things that are ignorant. That's the mundane philanthropist. Sometimes they try to do something good and it becomes something nasty. In Bengal, they were having disease from mosquitoes born from surface water in the fields. So I don't know who spearheaded it, maybe the United Nations or some such group. They started boring wells to tap water from deep underground so that people wouldn't have to rely on the surface water. And they did it. They made wells all over Nadia district and other places. And in that way, they created a huge man-made epidemic of arsenic poisoning because there was arsenic in the lower levels. And so when they did their drilling, I think it was arsenic or lead or arsenic, I think arsenic. So they created a huge epidemic of poisoning and people being born with malformed bodies and all of that. So they were trying to do something good, but they were ignorant. And so the result was ignorant. There, another, Prabhupada quotes and cites an example from his experience. Another example, not from Prabhupada's experience, was at the end of the Second World War, the Allies liberated the concentration camps, and they saw these people who've been, starving, and they're emaciated and like skeletons practically. And the American soldiers felt such compassion seeing these people in such a state that they were taking what's called, I think, K rations. They're little tins of whatever it was that you take out with you on the battlefield so that you'll have some source of protein and so on. And they were just throwing them to these poor people. And among those prisoners were some doctors. And the doctors were like waving at people, don't take it, because you can't handle it. You haven't been eating, your system won't be able to handle this. But so many of these starving people couldn't hear that. They were starving, and now someone's throwing them some food. So they took the food, and then these people who survived all the way to the liberation of the camps died because their digestive systems simply couldn't process that kind of high protein nutrition. Many of them just expired on the spot. So again, it's like we want to do something good, but it becomes just the opposite. Actually, any attempt to help the living beings by welfare work was termed by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur harm-giving kindness. Harm-giving kindness. Why harm? We're giving food, we're giving shelter, we're giving this. No, you're encouraging people, stay in this material world. We'll adjust things, we'll make it good for you. Prabhupada gave the example, you go meet some rich man and you meet him, you meet his son. Then like some days later, you're driving in your car and the son is tapping on your window, begging for some food. He's all wretched looking. So the person who rolls down his window and gives him some food is a fool. He's a fool. He thinks he's doing something good. Now the good thing is, you bring him, I know you, you're the son of such and such rich man. Get in my car. And you take him back to his father, then all of his problems will be solved. His food problem, his psychiatric problem. Otherwise, today you solve his food problem, tomorrow he'll come back with a food problem. Or a psychiatric problem, or a health problem, or this problem or that problem. It can't be stopped by any amount of mundane welfare. I was talking about that yesterday with one devotee. He was saying, the governments can do something. But the governments have been doing something since thousands of years. Back in biblical times, back in pre-biblical times, there was always welfare work. And the poor are still with us. I think it was it Kennedy or Johnson who started the war on poverty decades ago? The American leadership announced a war on poverty. Poverty won. It's still here. So harm-giving kindness, the real kindness, is distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Enechayal Shodhimaya Nashivara. Vinam Mahamantra. Just take this Mahamantra. This is the medicine you need. The cure for birth and death. Something else? Yes.
Marge, when you were saying this, it was reminding me of something my grandfather always told me. It's a common saying, but he would tell me all the time that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And
the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And I was thinking about this idea of coming to the platform of sattva. As devotees, we know that it's nice to come to the platform of sattvagun because it allows us to think more of Krishna. But sometimes what happens is there's kind of a niyamagraha, over-attachment to the desire to be in sattvagun without understanding the actual purpose of why we're doing that. So I'm wondering if you could maybe elaborate on that.
That's Arjuna. How can I oppose Bhishma, Drona, relatives, my friends, Oksham, Vaiksham, Apiha, it's better to die. It's better to live by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of these great souls. What about the Varna Sankara? What about the dismantling of the family traditions? What about dharma? What about this? What about that? And Krishna said, you're a fool. You're lamenting over something which is not worthy of grief. You're trying to, what's going on in the dream, that's what you're lamenting about. Tishta, Jayadvaita, one has to wake up to the reality, not try to make the dream better. Something else, perhaps. Tishta, Jayadvaita. Well, I'm not under contract to fill every last minute. If there are no more questions, we can stop here. It just means some of whatever they're rolling here won't get rolled. Or they'll, anyway, you can stay till the end. If you think best. All right, we can stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobha Jayadvaita vidham stitam sattve prasidati evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhaktiyo bhagavat tattva vijnana